do their best, but...
So we are going to see the Gwen last pick here, which... Doesn't that beat Darius in lane? I don't know.
Oh, so it is going to be Karma mid, huh?
Yeah, Gwen is a very good lock here, as 4 of those 5 champions struggle to deal with Gwen. Yeah, looking at runes here, everything seems normal, aside from maybe lethal instead of Hail of Blades for the Xin here, so while those initial ganks will be slightly weaker, the lethal tempo will allow him to have much better trades, but...
I actually think the lethal tempo here is actually kind of good with the fact that it's mostly AD damage, because if he builds a couple of items in armor, he can stack that max attack speed and just be constantly doing a higher amount of DPS in a fight.
So we are seeing a 5-man happening here. They haven't got any vision of what's going on, because no one was watching that. Brand is arriving late.
DZN 5-pointed it wrong. They 5-pointed it totally wrong there.
So they've managed to sneak in here with 0 vision. They've got the ward now on the red.
Oh, run, Dust, run.
So that has been spotted, and Gwen, since she starts the anyway, is able to get out, but that does give them experience.
Yeah, that's
which means
on red, which is not good for them.
Yeah, that means that all these lanes should be leveling up 1 minion earlier. Which, for example, in the top lane, Darius being able to hit level 2 off first wave could just potentially lead immediately to a first blood.
You love seeing the BM in the chat, Carmen OR.
But yeah, so they will be able to know exactly where the Xin Zhao is starting. Meanwhile, DZN wasn't able to pick up any vision here, so yeah, they're both bot lane's going to, both junglers going to start on the bot side here. Difference being, they know where Xin Zhao is, whereas the other side don't know where Kindred is. So how they play around that information, we'll have to wait and see.
I think it's going to be really helpful for Darius, especially knowing that Xin Zhao's going to be hitting that top side sort of around the 2.5, 3 minute mark. So he has that safety net to push his wave in and then back up and try and get some vision and do stuff around the map. I think it's really good that they know where Xin Zhao is, especially because his gank path is kind of easy. He can, it doesn't take too much to make Xin Zhao useful.
Yeah, so Xin Zhao can easily do a 3 camp or a 5 camp. So we are seeing, as it looks right now, Kindred either doing a 4 camp here or a 5 camp, depends on if she wants to take the Grok, whereas Xin Zhao probably going for a 5 camp as well, I'd imagine. So both players will likely be meeting at this scuttle, which we'll have to see whether the Kindred Mark Roulette ends up landing, be it top, be it bottom, as these scuttles in this game, particularly just because of the Kindred, will be so much more important to fight for.
Oh, of course.
When you're seeing this Darius perma-shoving, you're hoping right now that Kindred Mark is not being top lane.
Oh yeah, you do not want to be seeing that mark on your map, because you basically just know that you are in. And then again, I suppose it's almost an advantage. If you see that mark there, you can be like, yeah, I need to back the hell up, because Kindred is likely going to be my side of the map and I shouldn't be up here. So
the one thing is, Xin Zhao will be able to outright fight Kindred, but the difference being is Kindred will have a team, whereas Xin Zhao will not, as, yeah, this Gwen is stuck right onto the tower. Sweet, Darius is already moving.
This is the thing, this is exactly what I said would happen, though. The Darius can push that Gwen freely because he had that ward in red, and the second he knew it was bad, he just went down and warded that tri-hedge to know where the Xin Zhao was. He's got constant vision of where he is now, and that's huge for him, really, especially as, again, Darius is an immobile top laner. When that flash is gone, you have 5 minutes where you are in trouble.
So it is interesting to note, actually, now you mention it, he has only gone for the flash. He's opted to not take the ghost here, which means he will be a lot worse in these team fights. But again, when you're looking at this team, they're more than likely playing around the Kindred and the Vayne. So
I think that's the thing, like, if it was a sort of team fight where they wanted to play around something like a Darius, it would have been ideal for him to take those, but because, again, most of the damage is going to be dealt by the Vayne and the Kindred, and they can protect that a lot better, taking the flash there is probably a wiser idea, because it gives him so much better lane presence, it gives him better pick potential later for sort of going over walls and sort of picking off single targets. I actually kind of think the flash was much better for him there.
So we see the Darius flash coming out, but he isn't able to catch anything. I say, it was able to just get completely halted there by Xin Zhao. So they went for 1 gank, managed to burn, the Gwen is immune, the Halib missed, went for a second one, popped the flash, but I don't know if he didn't have his E or he didn't have the mana, but he wasn't able to catch out the Gwen there. Does end up forcing TP to come out, but this could potentially be an opportunity for Gwen to get a kill if Darius decides to agree, though he's immediately straight back off to the tower. Not going to take any risk. And we will see the Kindred mark moving off of Xin Zhao onto the Jinx here. So we'll have to wait and see.
I think that Darius needs to be very cautious now because, again, Ares, if he has any common sense, he would realise that, okay, the Darius's flash is down. That takes out a lot of that dude's mobility. And as long as you don't get hit by those critical points in the Darius queue, you're pretty much free to gank him at this point.
But yeah, so we are seeing the Drake immediately being taken here, and a pause as the top laner has just DC'd. But yeah, we're going to see right now with the pressure in the mid lane and the bot lane that they were able to just go straight onto that dragon and take it uncontested. As if they do manage to somehow steal it, that will be amazing.
I mean, Kindred has the potential, obviously. She has her Q, she still has a flash up. There's still potential for her to walk around here, but I think so far, like, the lead is kind of in DZN's favor when it comes to some of the spells at the very least. It's 7.4 to 7.4. The some of the spell advantage is actually still in DZN's favor, but if they get this dragon, there's actually going to be a lead for them.
Again, I don't realistically see them being able to steal it because I think it is on like 1.5k. You have got all 4 members there just hitting it the moment it's spawned. That was really good macro there to take the skull, deny the mark, and immediately turn straight onto that dragon that's just spawned. Get it out of the game immediately.
Oh, for sure. And this is what I mean about DCN. Like this last 3 weeks in particular, they have been really showing that their macros improved to an exponential level. Like they're really going up, considering again how they started this split and how people were just like, oh lol, they're going to be like the 8th place team. You know, they've actually pulled their fingers out of their asses and really shown that they can macro well, and they're actually here to try and make playoffs. And I think that's awesome to watch.
Yeah. Interesting to know that this is a Vamp Scepter first item from the Xin Zhao, so that does lead towards it either being a Shield Bar or an Eclipse. Which would be interesting if you do end up seeing a full crit Xin Zhao here.
I think the Eclipse honestly makes sense against the side of Psy, because Darius is their only real frontline, but he's not even that tanky, to be honest with you. Having something like an Eclipse to hop on something like the Vayne or the Lulu and just to try and delete them from the fights entirely actually makes sense. With two enchanters like that, they can surely just pick them off and just basically just win fights around that, right?
Yeah, so I thought I was going crazy. I was worried. After I said that, I couldn't remember if Gordring could built out of the Vamp Scepter.
So I'm glad I do the same. I do the exact same. I go to build a Gordring who goes, where the hell's the Vampiric Scepter?
But it is interesting to see that, again, I would hope to preferably see the Eclipse here, but again, Shield Bow is fine. If you go, because a build that I've seen before, which is interesting, is like the Shield Bow Essence Reaver into then building the tanky items, which gives you a lot more upfront burst, but with a lethal tempo, probably isn't the angle in this game.
Yeah, I genuinely think the wise thing for the Xin Zhao to do here is maybe go for the Eclipse, some plated steel caps and some armor, and just immediately just start spam ganking, because again, he'll have so much burst from the Eclipse, and then if he has some armor behind him, he will just not die, because again, their team is 90% AD.
Because, yeah, the moment they start building Fallen Males, they're going to struggle.
Yeah, for sure.
If anyone even builds a Frozen Heart, they lose a lot of damage.
I mean, to be fair, things like the Xin Zhao and the Leona could easily just rush a Bramble Vest and just be perfectly comfortable against the matchups. You know, even the Gwen could almost get away with it, because, again, all they need to do is just build armor. That is just the motto of this game for DZN, build armor and probably win.
So, talking about Bramble Vest, we have seen Darius immediately pick it up there for the Gwen healing, trying to make sure that is immediately in check. Which, while Gwen still does a decent amount of 80 damage just due to the nature that she is having to auto-attack you, especially with a Doran's Blade, but it does end up stifling his power spike a bit longer.
Oh yeah, because obviously the Gwen will most likely build the... I forget the name of the item, the one, the Riftmaker, that's the one. And obviously with the Conqueror as well, I think building that Bramble Vest early and goes to Gwen, even though it's AD against a mostly heavily AP matchup, I think it's actually a very wise decision from Moneyman Flacco there to sort of stifle Dusk's early buff he will get from that Riftmaker and the Conqueror.
So it will definitely do him favours, but I dare say maybe not necessarily this early on, just because of the fact that that is still an early game Gwen, and you are still Darius.
Oh, for sure. I think
She
he
won't be
probably should have.
healing. Yeah, she
sorry.
won't be healing enough at the moment. Whereas he could have potentially invested that into a pickaxe there, as opposed to the bramble plus refillable. I have to ask it. Yeah, pickaxe goes into Iron Spike. So
Yeah, because there is a good chance he's going to go either Gore Drinker or Stride Breaker this game.
or we could see a wild hole breaker, but you never know.
I don't think the Hole Breaker will come out this game because there's still not quite enough bulkiness on the side of DZN to warrant the Hole Breaker. But I think for the fact of the matter is, he's again maybe going for the Iron Spike or the Heartbreaker Axe, whatever it's called. I think you see the movement speed would have been a wiser investment personally, because again the Gwen doesn't really start getting much healing until she's near that Hole Break point, or she can trade you for a longer period of time. Whereas right now she can't quite go for those longer fights.
So as a Darius, you just shouldn't be losing to a Gwen at this point in the game period, in my opinion. But again, I'm starting to get really annoyed at that sweeper sound.
I mean, a great time for the pause, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, looking at the rest of the map right now, it's pretty much all the lanes are very even in terms of CS taken.
Yeah.
As like the biggest deficit we're seeing is 5 mid lane, but that's on an enchanter, so who cares? 4 top lane, but Gwen will just outscale you, so who cares?
Yeah, I'm about to say the Gwen beats the Darius late game without a doubt in the sense of usefulness. Obviously, there's nothing in the jungle. Basically, the mid lane is again pretty much nothing. I think it's just sort of one of those things. I think it's so even where it's not going to actually make a difference. But I think the scaling favors probably DZN into the mid game, right? I'd say.
I mean, I think mid game, it'll actually be Psycho but Sweet that'll be stronger because again they've got these 2 enchanters which will keep people alive. But when we get to this late game, when Jinx probably comes online, when she gets her, well, I mean, she comes online when she gets her 3rd item, really, the IE. That's when her rockets start to really devastate teams.
I suppose you're right. I think it sort of almost depends over the side of Psycho Pursuit. If they're going to go for this mid-game scaling, they need to group quite early to, again, get the sort of Vayne and the Kindred just doing all the work. But if they don't group properly, it's not going to make entirely a big difference to the game flow, to be honest with you. Poor Moneyman Flacco here, clearly having some connection issues. 200 plus years client or BT internet, take your pick.
I'd have to assume it was the internet because we did see the pause. Well, we did see the disconnect immediately into the pause afterwards.
Yeah.
So he is in the team chat, so whether that's on his phone or not, who knows? But he has reconnected. Hopefully we'll get back into this game soon because I'm running out of things to talk about, if I'm honest.
I mean, yeah, it's difficult. Leona versus Lulu, how'd you find that matchup?
Leona versus Lulu. I mean, Leona goes in, Lulu presses W.
Yeah. You heard it here first. Leona goes in, Lulu presses W.
That's about the extent of the lane, or Leona chills and just takes pixie bolts and nothing happens. Lulu is just such a boring champion.
I mean, that is fair. I mean, no one's even saying anything in chat either, so I can't even sort of bounce to chat to sort of see what's going on there.
But yeah, that is us back into game. We see the dragon being picked up. We do see the Zap land onto the Lulu, but the Kindred is here to help stop any kind of play. Xin Zhao does tag him with the W, I don't know what's called, but yeah, nothing else happens. So we see a bit of fighting in the top lane, and that's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So we see an invade going on. Because we paused, it's going to freeze for a moment. Thanks, Riot. As per usual, your client works.
200 plus years.
Oh, here we go. Ooh. We do see a flash there from the Xin Zhao and the Jinx there, so that is now bot lane is you can capitalize on that bot lane now.
No, absolutely. I think it was wise of Weebly to flash like that, though, right? For sure. Like, respect flashing the amount of damage that Psycho Sweet can actually do was probably a much wiser choice than just dying to them there and letting them start to scale to that mid game quicker.
So the moment he ate that condemn, he had to flash the moment he was out of it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we are seeing like the Darius already being forced out by the Gwen here, and again, I think it's because of the fact that he went for that Bramble, which isn't doing him much favours. So we are going to see Kindred picking up. I think that's her second mark, if we could check that. But, yeah, 2 marks for Kindred, 2 more, and then she becomes a proper champion with that 75 range increase.
I think that's the thing for Psycho but Sweet. They can't do a ton until Kindred gets those 4 marks. It is like just having a glorified minion on your map when your pre-4 mark Kindred just walks up to you and just sort of hits you with these attacks that just do no damage.
The 500 range attacks, yeah.
500 raise auto attacks that hit you for about 70 ago. You're sort of like, oh no, please spare me.
But yeah, that does put her halfway through, having got one mark from that first goal and that second one from that Raptor invade there. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're seeing lanes go back to an even state here, and we do see a slight 300 gold lead, which is basically just the dragon.
Yeah.
Although there is a actual sizable gold CS lead on the side of the mid right now, with the 10 gold on the brand.
I think this is what I'd say, funny enough, was the fact that, obviously, I actually genuinely think people don't respect Max Crisp's brand enough. Like, he is proven time after time again, you leave that brand open. Like, I think every game I've watched where he's been brand mid, he's actually really showed up with it. And that pick has just been such a good comfort pick for him.
So saying that, though, we did see the Kindred gank the mid laner and has forced the brand out of respect to flash away. So we have seen the next marks spawn on that Grump, but they're not going to be able to contest it as bot lane has infinite pressure right now and mid lane's recon, so they are willing to... I mean, it's already gone, actually. Zin's already taken it.
Yeah. I think if you're the side of Psycho but Sweet here, you need to be trying to capitalize on the fact that mid and bot both have 0 flashes and trying to actually get something on your lanes right now.
It is a case of, like, there's only 1 flash left on the entirety of Dundeeznuts right now, obviously excluding Gwen's Ghost, but meanwhile they've got 4 on the side of Psycho but Sweet.
Yeah, this is surprisingly slow pace from Psycho but Sweet. Like, they're usually quite an impatient team when it comes to things like this. They usually show quite a lot of aggression or trying to go for these early kills to, like, force a early gold lead. But the fact of the matter is this game is coming off for 9 minutes and it's still 0-0 on the board, which, again, for a Psycho but Sweet game is actually miraculous, I think is the word I'd use.
But yeah, you're on about those 1 kill a minute LCS games. This is definitely one of them.
Yeah, this is for sure an LCS style game here where, like, no team is going to do anything that risks even giving something. But I think this is, again, why I sort of respect Dundee so much at the moment. Is the fact they've changed their play style. They're not giving away, like, because again, you watch their earlier games, they give away so many early kills or so much early pressure where they just sort of lose through that. But they've tightened up their gameplay a hell of a lot, and they're just being so much safer, and it's awesome to watch. It really is awesome to watch.
Yeah, we do see about 500 gold lead right now. The side of Dundeeznuts immediately on that Herald. I'll say immediately, it's been spawning for a while now, but again, it's one of those things where for some reason the camera does not pan to Herald, we don't get to see it dying. But it looks like they have swept the Herald, but it's too late, it's already been taken. That will be picked up for Ares there, looking to take that somewhere else on the map. And again, that should get dropped on tower plates, and that will be at least 320 gold generated for 2 members on the team.
For sure. I think this is really clean play by Dundee's like that. They're not risking anything. They're not playing crazy against a team, again, like Psycho but Sweet, that can punish players. Because, again, their players' skill levels are all really high, and they're all fantastic players. But, again, Dundee's are just not giving them anything to work with. And their macro has been really tight this game.
So we do see them going onto the Darius here. We've got the Brand and the Zin almost here. That is all tons of damage. We do see the Flash W coming out, and that will be first blood. But however, that will end up immediately being the response of Psycho but Sweet moving straight onto that Dragon there to capitalize on the Xin Zhao being top lane. But that will end up being the Herald dropped, and that's going to be a lot of gold for Xin Zhao and Gwen generated here.
I think that actually works out better for DCN right here. Like,
since they've already taken that first Drake, they definitely do not mind taking the first blood and a bunch of tower plates for that single Drake. So we could potentially see that top lane just tower drop immediately here. But it's taking a while for them to chew through it just because of the fact they dropped that Herald immediately. But again, that's not going to mean anything.
That was incredible.
And so yeah, now we see a Gwen with first blood, 20 CS, and 2.5 plates worth of gold ahead of this Darius.
That's really going to put top lane on notice.
So, meanwhile, we do see the Karma flashing forwards for the root here, and that will end up being kill picked up for the Kindred. That is a mark as well, which puts her up to 3, I believe. If you want to quickly click on her just to check. Oh no, she's on 4. We missed the mark. So yeah, that does mean that she gets her 75 range, which makes the champion a lot more flexible in terms of what it can do. So any marks from here on out are luxury, but that is Kindred's main breaking point for allowing her to properly function in the game.
I think this is the thing that Ozanox needed to find those 4 marks as quick as possible, and he needed to also try and abuse these lanes that didn't have the flash up at the time. And obviously, Max Crisp only just about to get his flash back. In fact, he managed to find a option on a champion again who doesn't have any like high range mobility where he can just like flash or dash out. Finding that right now might have actually been the turning point that Psycho-Sweet need right now, with the tempo arguably being in DZN's favor right now.
So we do see him, especially since that Rift play. Well, Rift Held plays happened. They're about 2.5k gold ahead right now, which most of that is currently condensed into the Gwen. So we do see the Kindred finding Leona here. Not much going to happen. So Xin Zhao and Gwen just going to hunt down this Darius again. He doesn't have any flash this time, so he's just going to get run down under tower and murdered. We do see him with the Hex Drinker, but it's not going to be enough to save him. Does get the ult down, and with the tower, almost managed to kill the Gwen, but no, he's just going to die, and he's going to lose even more resources here.
Do you worry that Moneyman Flacon, the Darius, is actually kind of building too many component pieces rather than trying to find like a consistent build for himself here? Because he's now got the Hex Drinker, he's got the Bramble, he's not actually working towards a proper mythic or something that can really give his character some oomph.
So yeah, he's sunk 2,500 gold here into items which don't help. So we do see the ult coming down here from the Bram. It's not quite enough to burn through the Karma shields, but that should be enough to force her away, theoretically. But yeah, he really is just thrift shopping right now with none of it actively helping his build. It's just, he's built that initial Bramble, which he really didn't need given the circumstance, since Gwen isn't healing enough right now with no completed items. Followed immediately by the Hex Drinker then, because he's died once, which still hasn't saved him from the gank.
No. I think that's the issue as well with Darius as well, is like if you fall behind early, you do have a rough time of it. And he's now in that point of the game now where he is just genuinely struggling to find any pressure on his lane, because again, Gwen can just run up to him even with the whole, even with the Hex Drinker, even with the Bramble. The Gwen can still just run at him and go, yeah, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, interesting note there. Vayne rolling forward for the Condemn is able to force the Jinx to preemptively flash just so she doesn't get condemned against the wall and murdered.
I argue that was probably a bit of too much of a wasted flash, to be fair. If she had looked at the map, obviously the Xin Zhao was hovering. I think if you'd almost baited the Vayne forward there for a fight, you'd have probably been able to win that on the side of DZN, right?
I mean, I think Xin Zhao was a bit too far away. That flash was warranted. Otherwise, she was getting pinned against that wall and potentially facing death. We do see Karma sneaking around here. We see the last hour coming out. Leona is just going to stun her, but they're just going to go straight under the tower. Oh. The Solar Eclipse does land, but it's not enough. These two enchanters making sure Vayne is not dying. We see Xin Zhao on the flank here. Does manage to find the W onto the Lulu. We see the teleports coming out from the Brand and the Darius here. Lulu is going to be able to flash out. We see the Apprehend coming out, pulls the Brand. He's kind of stuck in the middle. He has managed to get his AoEs out, but he is dead. And that will also be the Xin Zhao having to flash out here. Kindred has finally arrived. Managed to get that mounting dread onto the Xin Zhao, and he just pops as well. And again, Leona trying to save the Xin Zhao gets caught out and killed as well. That is not... If you're on the side of Sai, you are giddy at that one. If you're on the side of...
Well, I'd say that was a 4 for 0, I believe.
Yeah, 4 for absolutely nothing there.
I mean, Duskit is side pushing quite hard, and he might be able to at least try and answer with a turret, which is good, but the fact of the matter is DZN just got caught with their pants down there, and they're just making the most of it.
So yeah, those two enchanters did absolute wonders there, because Vayne did not have a care in the world, went straight under that tower, got the kill, even getting
Jinx ult?
I think the Jinx ult was towards the dragon, but it was way too early.
Way too early. I think the problem is there as well as, again, they sort of had nothing really up bot side. There's a few summoners down. There was, again, they sort of went in a little bit staggered, and Psycho-Sweet sort of picked up on that. and they couldn't really make the picks. I mean, again, the Xin Zhao actually went for the Eclipse as predicted to sort of deal with those carries, but they were just too grouped up. He couldn't find anything, and they just took them apart one by one.
So we do see him actually building another lethality item here as well, which I'm going to assume it will either be Edge of Night or a Collector, depending on how spicy he's feeling.
That is some big balls plays by the Xin Zhao there, going straight lethality after getting an Eclipse. You'd have thought he'd have went for, again, something armor related, as again, you have the Darius, you have the Kindred, and you have the Vayne, sort of all heavy AD when there's 2 double enchanters, you know. And again, the Karmas actually went for a Moonstone maneuver as well, so.
But yeah, these 2 enchanters pretty much are going to be that Stonewall barrier, make or break, as to whether or not their team dies or not. We should see as well Vayne building the shield bow, probably into a straight full tank build after she gets that Guinsoo's as well, because AD carries are allowed to do that for some reason. Not hating on tank AD carries, definitely not.
Oh, definitely not.
But yeah, interesting to note that from that fight, we did see 2 kills going on to the Kindred, 1 for the Darius, 1 for the Vayne. Saying, yeah, that's 3 autos already, half of Weeby's health per week. Just getting caught walking forwards there by just the Vayne alone.
I think the joy of the matter... Oh, here we go.
Oh, save. Solo Eclipse comes down, doesn't quite land in the center, and the Xin Zhao does miss the W. It does force out the last arrow from the Vayne, but nothing else. So we will see the second Herald being dropped here just to make sure that tower falls.
I think the problem is with the side of DZN here. They just, again, the bot side in particular, they need to be waiting for that Vayne to get a few items, because the Jinx to get a few items, because she isn't really an ADC until then.
So we are going to see the fight come here. We do see the Brand ult come down, but that's going to be it. So the Brand ult alone does do half of Karma's health, but the Mounting Dread is landed on Brand. There is the stun coming out just to prevent Brand from getting fully caught here, but then... Oh my word! They managed to catch out the Jinx there of the Karma route. So we see the teleport coming through. And Kindra's going to be caught out alone here. We're going to force her flash. Meanwhile, on the other side, we do see Gwen just running straight into the Vayne and Lulu. So the Kindred manages to barely get out alive, and yet Gwen just going to get run down here. Picked up by the Kindred.
I think you got to see the joy of the fact that Xin Zhao had lethality there. But the issue is they sort of pushed a little bit too far forward for a fight that they couldn't quite take against 2 enchanters.
So I think the main issue there was 2 of them chased down that Kindred, whereas 2 of them went for the Jinx Lulu, not Jinx Lulu, Vayne Lulu there.
They need target priority there, 100%. They sort of spread out, despite having the numbers advantage for a second there, they spread out on the wrong targets. And they would have sort of, again, with the Eclipse Xin Zhao, if they'd have said, right, we're going for this target in particular, they would have probably knocked it down a lot quicker.
See, and now I see why that second lethality items came out. I even forgot that existed, and that's a beautiful pickup here, the Serpent's Fang. Against
Double
double Enchanter's shielding. So, we are seeing the Karma as well, starting to work on that Putrefier for the team. And Kindred does manage to steal the blue there, which, again, that is another mark for her. Again, not quite as important as earlier, but...
Each free she gets, though, is the issue is each free she'll get will just increase her power by quite a margin at this point, I think.
So yeah, she is 2 away from getting up to that 600 range, but... Again, with that Kindred being 4-0, 5 marks, is a bit scary. And that gold lead, which was 2,000 earlier on the side of Dundeeznuts, is completely evaporating. We're back to pretty much an even game. Arguably even in the side of Psycho but Sweet right now, with the 2 Drakes as opposed to just 1.
Yeah, despite the gold being favouring DZN right now, even not by much granted, it's still arguably the tempo of the match is actually kind of favouring Psycho but Sweet, with where they've got the money, in particular being on one of their hyper carries, is just going to be huge for them.
So we are going to see the side of Dundeeznuts on top of this Drake first, but whether or not they'll be able to hold the posture is a different matter. We see Lulu does have the Shurelias now, so both Char's items picked up. We do see the Darius having to teleport down here to respond to this Drake attempt, but yeah, with the 2 enchanters, Kindred is just walking forward, she doesn't care. Oh, we're seeing the engage happening. A Solar Eclipse does land onto the Kindred, the Lulu ult isn't enough to keep her alive. On the other side, Gwen is just killing the AD carry, but the Condemns come down and Vayne will get the kill there. However, the rest of the team fight is just being completely dominated by the Jinx here, managing to pick up that kill, and that is a Vayne stuck by herself. And they are currently chasing her down. I would argue it's probably better just get the Drake, although the flash does come out.
Beautiful!
Yeah, that was a really good fight, as what we saw right there was beautiful. While Gwen did die and got nothing, the rest of the team managed to find that Kindred and kill her before she could get the Lamb's Respite out. Meanwhile, the other AD carry was preoccupied trying to fight the Gwen, which meant all their damage was gone because this Darius just isn't providing anything right now. As again, he's been thrift shopping.
This is what I mean, like, I believe in Dundee's like supremacy for this exact reason. Like, the Darius is offline right now. He's offering nothing, and the Jinx just went totally unanswered in that fight. Just the second she got the hyper, she just ran around the fight, just hurting people. There was nothing anyone could do on the side of Psycho but Sweet to really answer it. The Dundee supremacy is they're playing absolutely out of their minds right now.
So they're relying on these two AD carries, but when one of them gets caught out by that and the other one's fighting for their life against a Gwen that's just literally right-clicking you to death, with no one there to help peel her because they're all too busy trying to save the Kindred's life to no avail. There's really not much they can do. It looks like they are trying to posture onto this Baron here, whether or not it'll be a bait or they'll actually try and take it. See, it looks like they are backing off for the moment, with Dundeeznuts coming back in to try and re-establish Vision here. But
I think this is a wise move by Psycho to maybe try and bait out like a panic play from the side of DZN right now, because DZN, again, they're playing so confidently and they've sort of asserted a lot of their style onto Psycho the Sweet here, and I think it's really good that they're not panicking or making these misplays. They realised people were posturing around the Baron side and they didn't react.
So yeah, this Xin Zhao is, with the double lethality items, again, a very warranted shield, Serpent Fang. Actually, could we hover over that to see how much it's negated so far? It's the green sword on Xin Zhao. Yes, it's already stopped 1,000 shielding. He's only had that for one team fight.
I think this is why Ares is considered their best player, though. The fact that he itemized like that and, again, made himself... He got that lethality, so he can just take out these prio targets like this. I think it was a really smart move for him to go rush the double lethality like this.
So we saw a small skirmish break out there. The Solar Eclipse goes wide, but it does ultimately prevent anything from happening. That does force Xin Zhao to back, but doesn't look like much else is going to happen here, as they're not completely aware that he has backed. We will see Lulu venturing out for some vision, but otherwise continue playing neutral as normal.
So how are you feeling about this game so far? Do you reckon that we could still see the upset, or do you reckon there's an avenue for Psycho the Sweet to actually perform a comeback here?
So both teams right now are very, very even. Like I say, even though, again, while they might be behind in this gold, I do believe that Psycho the Sweet do have the stronger mid-game team. So we are seeing the Karma and Darius actually collapse on the other side of the map. So, yeah, Darius is going to attempt to get a kill here, but he is free. Not Darius, Bran. He is 3v1. Does almost pick up the Kindred. Is going to force the Lamb's Respite here, but will he be able to pick her up afterwards? Unfortunately not. However, they have immediately gone straight onto that Baron, and it will be a 2v4 here with Vayne Lulu trying to prevent this from happening, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do this, unfortunately.
This is what I mean about the incredible macro of DZN recently. Again, they realised that Max Crisp was in problem there, and all four of them immediately moved to Baron because they saw three people bot side. This is what I mean. Dundees are actually, honestly, their macro has improved and their gameplay has improved so much. Just seeing them rotate for that when they realised that three members were bot was genius of them, really. They just swapped a mid laner for a Baron. That's incredible.
So you do have to ask, can they be committing their junglers to those kind of plays on the other side of the map? Meanwhile, Darius is just going to get caught trying to hit tower here. Just going to get ghosted and ran down. So the last needlework does unfortunately miss, but it doesn't matter. Gwen has ghost. Meanwhile, Vayne is being quite out of position here as well. The Xin Zhao W does land, so the moment that dashes up, oh, that shield does barely save her along with the invisibility. The two enchanters pressing buttons, hiding behind their AD carry. Must be enjoying the game. I wouldn't.
This must be the unfortunate part of taking a comp like Psycho the Sweets. If you haven't got a massive lead on both your ADC and your jungler, then you can't really make it work. I mean, granted, they're both 3-1 and 4-1, which is incredible, but they still can't seem to find the angle where they're making the side of Psycho's carries actually do much at the moment.
So they are, with both these AD carries especially, both being these single target monsters as opposed to Jinx being being the AoE monster, they are struggling to actually find these correct team fights. But yeah, we are seeing both teams starting to posture up again for this dragon in 20 seconds, which both of them would love to pick up as it puts them onto Soul Point. So Lulu is walking up, getting caught out here. We do see the Brand ult come out, but it doesn't get to bounce. So so that is one ult burn, but that is half the health of Lulu gone before this team fight. So we do see the Lamb's Respite is about to come up here, just before this team fight happens.
Single shot there from the Jinx sort of chunked about 1,000 health over 3 members off there. That was disgusting.
So the rapid fire cannon is going to do a lot for helping in these siege type team fights. So we are seeing the fight come out. The flash apprehend here, and oh god, what, the Xin Zhao pushes everyone out the Lamb's Respite. This fight is absolute chaos. Darius dunks but finds nothing. The Vayne does manage to find the Xin Zhao, and Kindred finds Gwen here. We do see Vayne flashing forwards, forcing the Gale Force, but she actually ends up falling to the Jinx here, but they will end up having to give the Dragon here as, yeah, the only person with any health left to offer is the Brand, and he does not want this fight. So,
I think this shows the experience right here of Psycho Plus Sweet as the players. Like, they played that, despite being a little bit behind, probably not in the best place for it, they actually fought that team fight really well.
So I think it was just a bit unfortunate. Brand wasn't in range to allow that ult to bounce, which meant his greatest tool for that fight there just didn't get to do anything. Say, oh, that is just going to be a dead Karma, however. Oh, no,
Maybe.
it's Karma.
Maybe, I don't know, there's so many burns. Oh my god, the shield!
As I say, the Karma is still
way.
alive through all the shielding.
That is unbelievable.
I think that right there shows just how much the Serpent's Fang is doing on the Xin Zhao.
Yeah, I think the Brand would be wise to build a Shadow Flare here, surely. Like, Shadow Flame, sorry. That shielding was disgusting.
So if he builds that Shadow Flame, he can guarantee whoever he's hitting, he's going to be getting that max penetration, but I think they have to fight with the Xin Zhao. They need that 50% shield reduction.
Jeez.
As I think that right there highlighted it more than anything else. The Karma being 2 HP, but just her HP bar entirely fills up from just 2 champions pressing E.
That is unbelievable. That Karma should have been dead like 5 times over there.
So yeah, we do see Kindred on 9 hunts here actually, which one hunt away from getting that 625 range, same range as Ashe.
That's crazy.
But again, I
The
still
snowballing towards Psycho. What would you do here in this? If you were DZN, what would be your go-to angle here to sort of stop this sort of backslide that's heading into?
I think Gwen needs to play the split push, try and drag people down, because just Darius is not enough to answer her. Like this, you look at Darius's items, he's got a Stride Breaker and a Maul. Like,
No, I sure agree with you.
and 2 defensive components as well. He is not doing much damage, and Gwen will still shred it just because it's Gwen. So I think they need to be playing around this Gwen split push. She needs to be able to drag people down, and then they can make plays. Similar to what happened with Brand and the Baron, Gwen just needs to be trying to hit these towers and force people to come down. However, to do that, they really need some sort of vision set up, which they're severely lacking right now.
We're starting to see the armor items come through from DZN though. We've got the plated steel caps on the Gwen, the steel caps and the Death's Dance on the Xin Zhao, and the Zhonya's on the Brand, for example. I think they're actually finally starting to itemize properly around the fact that they're against an all AD comp.
So the more of these like defensive items, the more the armor they get, the harder these team fights are going to be. We do see Psycho but Sweet here starting to look like they're going to collapse onto the Gwen here, but they have been enticed by the blue buff.
That little blue boy being a very big enticement for most people that have mana bars.
Yeah, again, we're back here to playing neutral. We do see the Baron spawning in 30 seconds though, so I'm hoping both teams should start posturing around it. So we do see all 3 teleports up right now as well. But, oh, Ares is going to get caught out here. He's forced to preemptively ult so he can escape, but is it going to be enough? Kindred just walked into range, but
Xin is immune, Xin is immune, Xin is immune.
yeah, Xin is immune, and the Chompers are enough there to stop the Kindred from advancing and getting the kill. But that will pretty much just open up Baron immediately for them, as they now have no real way to contest it here.
Yeah, they're pinging it, they want it. They're going to probably just go straight for it.
They have no vision whatsoever to even think about contesting, so with the double AD carries, it's just going to burn. Although you would have to question...
That shield on Oz there when they both put their shields on Oz to buff his damage, that's crazy.
So we do see the Jinx ult come out to try and steal it, but too little too late. Yeah. On the other side of the map, we do see... Oh, no, actually, that was a top lane tower just falling to minions. Never mind.
I think it's wise for Psycho Sweet to be backing off straight away there and trying to, like, reposture themselves and protect their assets they've currently got, which is their turrets they have.
So they will end up losing that mid lane tower here, and we will see Soul Point spawning here for the side of Psycho Sweet. So they really do not want to be losing this here.
It was smart of DZN there though to realise that they reset and they played safe there, so they could take that mid turret, open up, and start posturing for this dragon. Because again, they do not want Psycho Sweet taking this extra shielding when, again, they already have things that put out double shields as is. They do not need an extra buffer.
So we are seeing the Brand looking at trying to reset here, but I think he's going to decide to set it. Again, we do have all the TPs available. So we are going to see the last tower popped here. Jinx is caught out of position, just getting run down by a Vayne. She's been flashed on, so that will force her to flash out as well, and just a wasted heal. But yeah, they're now all stuck in this choke point. So Gwen on the other side is being caught out by the Darius here. And yep, she's just going to get burned down. The other team is not able to respond at all, so they're now facing a 4v5.
Yeah, DCM would probably be wise to just throw their AoE into her and pray at this point.
So we are seeing all the AoEs come down, and so that will be the dragon picked up for the side of Dundeeznuts. We do see Karma fall to the Brand, however, as this fight is continuing. So this Kindred is not dying. She's gone golden with the stopwatch, manages to, while in status, still pick up the kill. So, and yeah, that is just everyone dropping.
God, that's unfortunate.
So, and with these back timers, well, with the death timers, we will probably end up seeing the inhib being picked up here as well, potentially even the base. As with these 280 carries, they're going to be able to siege very quickly. We see Darius as well, using that Mountain Soul and the 2 enchanters, or 1 enchanter in this case, Karma's dead, to be able to tank those towers, keep those minions alive, allow the siege to last longer. So we've seen 1 tower fall, we're seeing a 2nd tower fall, the inhib will be going, and so again, there is a very real risk that they just end the game here, and we're going to see him looking to go for at least 1 tower. See Gwen here ready to respond, but she is 1v4. She hasn't put down the miss, and she just popped.
Put Smith down. That was unbelievable. She just got popped before he even fell. Like the damage that Oznox on that Kindred is putting out, she just obliterated.
So we see 1 tower fall, but they don't quite have the minion wave to get that 2nd tower, unfortunately. And again, with and now that gold lead that was originally in the favour of Dundeeznuts, now completely on the side of Psycho Sweet, with 2k on the Kindred, 2k on the Vayne there. Then putting them both ahead of their enemies. So we do see like 1.5 grand for the Brand, but Karma is just Karma. She outputs so much more by just pressing her buttons with the redemption as well, making sure the enemy team can't heal with the putrefier.
Her utility is literally providing more than the Brand's DPSs right now, which is a real shame because, again, this must be kind of disheartening on the side of DZN. Like, they had a lot of control over this game and it's very rapidly going out of their hands.
So we're just seeing Oznox walk forward, just Lulu behind him, no fear of death.
Oznox is an absolute beast of a player. I had the joy of playing with him last season, but seeing him sort of like having these 2 enchanters behind him being 9-1, and again having the Vayne as 6-2 as well with 2 enchanters, there's just so much. Even if they build loads of armor, they're walking into 2 very fed AD carries right now.
So we see Vayne pop to the last hour, the 2 shields coming out. She is Zeri. That is the Vayne immediately dead. Not the Vayne, the Jinx immediately dies. Yeah, that is just disgusting. You've got the Shirelia's Lulu with the W, the Karma Inspire move speed. You can't outrun these AD carries. You need your front line to be there, but even the front line they're not tanky enough.
No. All that true damage coming through from the Vayne and the Kindred.
So we see the Gwen going in, but she's just immediately popped. So we do see the Kindred gets picked out, gets popped into the GA. We see the Lamb's Respite come out, however. So there will be 180 carry dead, but there's still another one going, free hitting. And that will be game.
That is so unfortunate. DZN put up such a hell of a fight against the top of the board right there. They can't be sad about that. That was an incredible showing from DZN, but Psycho Sweet just too strong for them today.